So I'd like to start with where I first met David Harris. This would be a good little background. I had seen him at our practice management software, had a meeting, and David was there speaking. And I ended up subsequently hearing him at another meeting. But I remember sitting at the meeting thinking, this is really great information for someone who might actually need it. I'm not one of those people because I've got things under control, but this is going to be great for somebody, and I hope they use this information. Well, fast forward probably a couple of years, and one of my employees approaches me and says, you know what, I was looking at some stuff, Dr. Scott, and I was making some calls, and I noticed this patient that we started last week doesn't have a contract entered, and I know I posted the down payment. So, well, I'll take a look at it. I'll see what's going on. So I ended up ring busy with our financial coordinator, mentioned what I just heard. She said, you know what, let me take a look at it. I'll figure it out. I said, all right, just let me know. A couple days passed. I went back and I said, so did you find anything out on that? I said, yeah, you know, they just forgot to enter it at the front desk. I got it entered. It's all taken care of. No problem. I said, all right, great. Thanks. The same person who initially visited with me comes back to me and says, so what did you find out? I said, well, I talked to her and she said, they just forgot to post it and everything's fine now. The contract's entered. And she said, was there a deposit slip? I said, I didn't ask. So I go back, I say, you know what, that patient we talked about, I went back to our financial coordinator, that patient we talked about, do you have a deposit slip for that? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Because I'm thinking, she's not going to lie to me. She's not going to be so brazen as to say, yes, I've got a deposit slip and then not be able to show it. So I said, that's fine, great. For a third time, this employee who initially approached me says, so what did you find out? And I said, yeah, she said she's got a deposit slip. And then this employee looked at me, kind of cocked her head, kind of like this and said, did you look at it? And I felt at this point like, you know, when your mom's told you to do something and you know you've got to go through all these steps to do it. You know how to do the job, but you're kind of like, well, I just want to do enough just to get by and maybe we will find out that there's nothing to this. And that's what I was doing. But she was pushing me to go all the way to the end on this. So I was at a point where I didn't want to approach our financial coordinator for a third time because then she would probably think, why does he keep asking about this? And if there's something going on, that raises some red flags with her. So I thought I'd do some investigating on my own. So I started looking at our audit trail in our practice management software. And I looked at this patient and I noticed that this transaction had been voided. And so I thought, well, that's kind of weird. It was a cash transaction and it had been voided. So then I just picked a date to kind of a time frame, about 6 months. I started looking at everything. And there were several voided transactions and almost all of them were cash transactions. So then I spread my search out even further to look, okay, the last year and a half, and I keep finding more of these. So then I call our practice management software tech support. I say, hey, listen, I got a couple questions. Can you guys look at some stuff for me? So they ended up pulling up these patients that I'd kind of earmarked or tagged, and they said, something's not right here. You should almost never have voided transactions, and you've got a lot, and they're all by the same person. And so I said, all right, so that's about when things started to sink in. Okay, there's something going on, and I don't know if there's a good answer for this. So I said, listen, I've got a few more names. I'm going to shoot those over to you. If you could look at those and let me know, that'd be great. And I said, yeah, we could do that, but what we recommend, and she actually, prior to that, she said, give me just a second. She went and talked to somebody else, the tech support person, said, we think you need to hire somebody right now to investigate this. This is beyond a small discrepancy, and there's something definitely going on here. And in fact, I think the words were, we 110% recommend that you hire somebody to look at this. They gave me Prosperity, which I was familiar with because I'd sat through those 2 meetings thinking I would never need them. So in fact, they gave me the orthodontic component lead, which is Wendy. They gave me her number. So I called Wendy and it went to voicemail. So I thought, and this is a Friday afternoon. So being OCD like I am, I didn't want to wait till Monday if she didn't call me back. So I thought, I'm just going to call the main number. And sure enough, I call and David answers the phone, which I thought was a little bit weird that David's answering the phone, but maybe that's something he does. So I talked to David probably for 45 minutes or an hour. I explained everything to him. And he said, yeah, there's probably something going on there that we need to look into. And he explained to me how the process works, what to expect, what they need from me, how to handle the employee during this time, which that's a whole nother webinar series on how that worked out. But, and then if there is embezzlement, how the prosecution works, whether it goes to a judge for restitution or goes to court. He laid out all these scenarios, and he talked about the cost and how all that works. So he laid all this out to me, and I said, listen, I got to talk to my business partner, and I'll let you know. Well, I ended up visiting with him, and I think on Monday I called back, and we signed up to get started, to start the whole process. And sure enough, after the investigation, it was found that we had been embezzled for a significant amount. And then we just kind of went through all that. Nothing was unknown to me because he told me, if this happens, here's what we're going to do. And so we went forward with first for terminating the employee. And there was a process or a protocol for that. And then how to handle all of that. And then to move forward with current staff, how to handle that. So it was a little kind of touch and go at times with the staff because they were all worried about, did she steal our information? And do we need to change bank accounts and all of this? So we were kind of a little bit walking on eggshells with certain things, but we've gotten through it. We're still in currently the investigation phase where the local police department took the case on, but then I think the Secret Service requested the case because my understanding is once it gets to a certain amount of embezzlement, they become interested in that because I'd heard that maybe they can seize property and there's some other things they have at their disposal to help with the investigation or the prosecution. So that's where it is right now. And I spoke with the Secret Service agent. He said, we're investigating it. The U.S. attorney is going to take it over. And the wheels of justice grind slowly. So be patient. If there's anything you need, call me. If there's anything I need from you, I will call you. So that's kind of where we are right now. That's pretty much it.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I had to unmute my mic. So tell me, because I'm kind of one of those affective people. How has this embezzlement? How did you feel about it when you found out it was true? How has it affected your life in terms of in your practice with your team? I mean, even your family life, it's sure. Got a toll on that.
Yeah. So first off, you trust everybody in your office, especially someone who's in charge of money or managing staff or who has a little more responsibility. You trust them with a lot of things. And we put a lot of trust in this person to manage our finances the way that we wanted them managed. And we assumed that she was doing that. And one other thing that I didn't mention earlier is that for a period of time, even before all of this came up with her, it seemed for me for the last 2 or 3 years, we were always just getting by. Everybody was getting paid. We didn't have to cut hours. We didn't have to not pay people, but there was never any extra money. And I would know we'd have a good month. And I know we have a good month, our bills are a certain amount and there should be a little bit left over. There was never anything left over. And that was interesting in retrospect, because at the time I thought, well, there's probably an explanation. I'm just missing something. And I would go back and look at some things that were expenses up, was our lab cost up, something. And I never really found something, but it was interesting to look back at that, well, now I know why. And then how that affected us. My wife was ticked whenever I told her about it. She was really upset. And of course she wants to, hang her out to dry, send her to prison. So, well, we can't do all of that because we're not going that route, but I understand how she felt. And I, to a degree, felt similar to that. But when someone you trust does that to you, it hurts. And I'm not an emotional guy. I'm not a compassionate guy. Don't tell anybody I said that, but I'm a very stoic type of person. And so not much gets to me. But this, whenever I've got someone I'm counting on that I put 100% of trust in does this, that changes everything. So as far as how it affected the practice, we had given certain people in the practice privileges through the practice management software to do certain things. What I did, and it might have been a little too much, I've pulled everything off. Nobody has any privileges to do anything other than, open the computer, turn on the computer, look at reports, the very basic stuff. If there's an adjustment to a contract, if there's a discount, if there's a voided transaction, if there's a new employee who needs privileges, I'm doing all of that, or my business partner as well. We're the only two that could do anything. So I kind of took on a lot more responsibility as a result of that. At some point, I might relinquish some of that, but right now, every little thing has to run through me. So that's how I've kind of probably overcompensated for that, but I feel that's what we need to do right now to ensure that nothing happens. Plus, by doing that, I'm setting a precedent with the current staff that Dr. Scott is checking everything. So I'm not saying I'm putting fear into them, but I kind of am, because they know he's looking at everything, and I can't do anything without him overseeing that. So that's where we are right now with that, and that's what has changed. So it's a little more work for me, but I don't mind it because I know what the alternative could be by not having everything run through me.